Okay, so we're going to start by I'm going to start by saving this image to my desktop. I'm going to create a folder called temp. Okay, just so I have the image that you started with. Okay, you're then going to go to picasa.google.com, and it's right up here. Okay, or just search for Picasa, and you're going to download it to your machine. It will recognize that you're on a PC and give you a download link that works for you. In my case, I'm on a Mac, so things might look a little bit different, but you just need to install that software and get that done. And then what you're going to do is you're going to launch that software. Okay, so you're going to basically launch Picasa. It's going to come up and ask you if you want it to search your hard drive to find all your images. And you can go ahead and say yes, and your images will probably appear. I'm going to need to drag your image into Picasa, so I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find the image and just drag it over here. It will bring in the whole folder, and it'll auto-launch it, that image. But if it doesn't, if it just pulls it in on the PC, you'll see in your library listing, you'll find it, and you can double-click on any image to edit that image. Okay? This is the edit window. So I've got your image open in Picasa. In other tools, you have a little bit more control over how we correct for perspective. Okay, but for most cases, if you're relatively careful when you take the photo, you can just use the straighten tool. Because I notice here the perspective you were talking about, I'm seeing a little bit of the upper left of the frame. And because you're doing a tight photo here, I'll probably want to remove that. So rather than just crop in, I'll use the straighten tool. And I basically can just turn your photo. I can turn it to the right, I can turn it to the left, and it also zooms in, which we can explain if we need to. So I'm just going to turn it to the right enough to basically get rid of that edge and hit apply. And that's basically all I'm going to really do on this screen. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the second tab, which is finely tune the lighting. There's something in your camera called white balance. Okay. Most cameras, when they take a photo, are generally set to auto white balance, and it's called AWB. If you look that up in your in whatever brush manual came with your camera, it basically, the white balance determines how warm or cool the light is, okay, when your camera takes the photo. So morning light tends to be a bit warmer than midday light. A sunset is very warm. It's like orange. You can see how warm the light is, okay? A cloudy day is actually a perfect day to take product photos because it's like a giant softbox in the sky. And that tends to go a little bit cooler, tends to look a little bit cooler. In almost all cases, you're going to want to correct the white balance. Again, you can just set your camera to auto white balance. And this slider right here, color temperature, is how you do that. So if I drag it to the right, you should see the colors warm up. It's even more obvious when I drag it to the left. If I drag it to the left, you'll see everything get cool. It's cooling down the light. Okay, so I'm actually going to drag it to the right, okay, and back and forward. You can see how things get a little bit more warm and the reds become more intense. So I think we can actually warm this up quite a bit to get it maybe closer to what it looks like for you. You can adjust that. I'm then going to raise the levels just a little. So I'm going to bring up the fill light just a bit. Okay, if I bring it up too much, it's going to wash out, be very pastel-y. And again, depends on what you're looking for. But I'll bring this up a little, and I'll bring up the highlights a little. I would generally then drop the shadows, but you can't really do that in Picasa on this screen. So I'm just going to do these two things. I'm going to raise the fill, I'm going to raise the highlights. I've warmed it up quite a bit, and then that's my final image. It's pretty simple. Okay, so it's trying to get a little closer to what you're seeing and a better representation. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to export it. So I'm basically going to hit the export button. I'm going to name it, so I'll say, Circles of Love or whatever the title is. And I'll usually tell myself I'll put corrected on it, so I know that I've edited this one. Okay, I'll use original size. Okay, you can leave image quality on automatic and basically hit export. You can add a watermark if you want. You hit export, and then I'm basically going to save. It'll automatically save into a Picasa folder for you, and it'll put it. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to bring the two files. This is the corrected one. I'm going to put the two files in the same folder. Let's see if I can pull this up in preview in a way that I can show you before and after. Okay? Sort of. So there's, let me be a little hard to see. So there's corrected, and there's before. You can see before is a bit cooler. The blues are a bit stronger, and after we just corrected the perspective, and it's gone a little warmer. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some of the tools. And there's other tools as well, like Photoshop, where we can really control. Like I can strengthen the blues and brighten the oranges and the reds. But hopefully that gives you a bit of a rundown on how to use Picasa.